Ladies, what's up, y'all? Welcome back. It's your girl, it's Brittany, and you are now tuned in to the Soft Girl Era podcast, where the focus is to be impactful by leading culture toward purpose and redemption. My aim is to give you insight on how to heal and forgive that inner traumatized young girl so you can flourish into your womanhood and soften your heart as the Bible calls us to do so. So, no matter where you are or what you're doing, I welcome you to unwind with me as we embrace all things gentle, yet vulnerable and transparent, joyful and beautifully soft. As always, before we dive deep, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button just to support your girl, honestly, and to receive the latest content from me, especially if you were led and impacted by that first episode. So, speaking of the first episode, we went over the basics of what society says soft girl era is versus the biblical definition. Today's conversation, we're going to dive a little deeper and talk about the crushing season. Again, I'm going to keep it a little bit short because honestly, I just know how our attention spans are. We just start going everywhere else. So let's talk about the crushing season. The term typically refers to the harvesting season of turning grapes into wine. The amount of time it takes for the season to come to completion, it depends on various factors, such as the type of wine, the environment, the weather. Sometimes it can range from 2 to 3 months, sometimes even longer, up to 6 months. But what exactly happens during this crushing season? That is a great question, and I'm so happy that you asked this because your girl did her homework. I'm telling you, y'all, like I wanted to know, I wanted to be able to execute this properly, so I did my research. The process, it begins when the grapes are fully ripe and then someone, typically a winemaker or a farmer, they go to pick the grapes from the field. The grapes are then placed in something large enough to be crushed. And some winemakers, especially back in the day, they gather a large group of workers and use foot treading to crush the grapes. And yes, as in they're using their feet to stomp and march all over the grapes that are eventually turned into that same wine that y'all be drinking, but yet be so scared to use the utensils from a restaurant without wiping them first. I don't know if it's just me, if I'm the only one who does not wipe, I'm sorry, but who does not wipe their utensils when they go to a restaurant. I don't know. It's just so odd to me what people will do and what they won't do. Because I've never been to a bowling alley where I see someone who wipes the balls or uses hand sanitizer after every single use. But yet they're tearing up chicken wings, pizza, french fries, all while touching the same ball that little Susie over there just sneezed all over. Make it make sense, sis. Make it make sense. But y'all be so quick to judge. Anywho, let's focus. All right, you see what I mean by the attention span? All right, so the crushing of grapes, it involves breaking the skins, all right? Listen carefully. It involves breaking the skins of each grape so that these grapes are being crushed, their skins are being broken, and the juice of the grapes are being released. The releasing of the juice process is called must, M-U-S-T. So, life be lifing, right? Breakups, heartaches take place, down to our last dollar with no change to spare, bills due, maybe death of a loved one, or even losing someone or something that didn't pass away can still feel like a death, right? Them kids acting up in school or at home or both. That friend circle is getting smaller and smaller. We're drowning in depression. Anxiety is on 10. Oh my goodness. We're just feeling like no one understands you. Childhood trauma is being brought up through triggers. We're feeling hopeless, barely getting by, running on E, literally or metaphorically. I've been there. And if I'm being honest, I'm not going to spend time telling you how to get out of it. It's because it's called the crushing season, all right? And it is the most important season to get to that true healing and restoration. I know it sucks, all right? Feel me. I know it sucks. I know it hurts. Trust me, I do. In fact, let me just tell you something in case you can relate to this. I used to constantly bury, and I mean truly bury, my sorrows and troubles so deep that I forgot they even existed. I would constantly mask each hurt with the goal. As long as I achieved that goal, I felt successful and fulfilled. Until something else tragic happened in my life, then I would repeat the first step, come up with another goal, accomplish it, and once again thought I would feel fulfilled. As long as I did that, as in essentially, as long as I stayed busy, because that's really what I was doing, I didn't have to deal with that real hurt I was attempting to bury inside. But what do you do when you've accomplished all of your goals for the moment and you're begging God, like, send me more vision, send me more goals, give me something to do. What do you want me to do next? What are my next steps? But God isn't talking to you. God isn't hearing your prayers. That's what we think, right? You can do what I did. And instead of waiting on God and his divine timing and his order, you come up with your own goals and go down your own path. That will, and when I say will, I promise you it will lead to some form of destruction or chaos that will have you like Jonah, who didn't listen to God's instruction, found himself in the belly of a big fish, but still in the end, what happened to Jonah? He still wound up on the original assignment God instructed him to do. But because he went his own way, he had to take a longer path in. Or you can do what I eventually grew wise to do. And that was to surrender, sis. Surrender it all. To allow God to use me in my weakest moment when I had no other fight in me. During this time, God instructed me. He instructed me to create a prayer closet. In that secret place with him, I treated it like it was holy ground. I didn't, and I still don't, enter with shoes in it. I anoint it with oil, I pray, and I thank God for allowing me to enter his dwelling place, okay? But most importantly, I humble myself before the throne of God. I spent countless hours in there weeping, not crying, but weeping, okay? It's not everything. Allowing God to do what he does best. He used me in my brokenness. He transformed me from that caterpillar to a butterfly. And I'll be real, there are moments where I was mad at God, but I'm here to tell you that's okay. Be vulnerable with God. Keep it real with him, sis. Let him know how you feel. Because the thing is, God already knows. He already knows exactly how you feel. He is an all-knowing God. He's just waiting for you to tell him. And when you ask God to reveal the why behind that pain that you had to endure, he is more than likely, sooner or later, he's going to show you, just like he did for me. I've realized I had to go through that crushing season so I could learn to share my yoke with God. Remember, I was mentioning that in the first episode. His word tells us in Matthew, his yoke is easy, his burden is light. I had to learn to truly trust God, not man, but God. I had to learn to rely on his strength. I had to enter my soft girl era and stop being naive, thinking I can take matters in my own hands like Jonah and heal my own broken heart. I am not capable of breaking chains. You are not capable of breaking chains and liberating ourselves from bondage. Because if I'm being completely transparent, some of the trauma that I've endured was self-induced trauma that I brought upon myself. I would say, I trust God, but let me just do things my way because I know what's best for me. I don't have the patience to wait on God and his timing. Every time in my life I did things my way, it led to mayhem. And I'm sure you can relate. And I don't mean maybe instantly, but at some point later down the road, I did reap what I sowed. So I finally got to the point where I was, like I said, I just ran out of goals at that particular moment. I completed the big 5-year plan and I had nothing. I had nothing anymore, no more accomplishments to mask the hurt. And I was tired, ladies. I was tired. I came to realization just how much I truly needed God. The crushing season was the most predominant season of my life. It was a time where I experienced true intimacy with God. Prior to that, I was doing all the things, sis. Like, I promise you, I was reading the word. I'm deep in. I'm praying. I'm going to church. I'm serving. The Bible studies. All the Christian things that you can think of, But a person can do all of these things, memorize the Bible from front to back to front, all the mixes in between. But if you lack that intimacy with God, then you don't have a full understanding of his agape love, right? The highest form of love. When you lack intimacy with him and face trials and tribulations, you somehow forget what God is capable of doing and you begin to put limits on God. When you lack intimacy with God and experience a breakup, You forget that God is your ultimate fulfillment, not man. Sis, when you lack intimacy with God, you turn to things of the world for temporary satisfaction, not realizing you can give it to God in exchange for his peace. Like I said before in the first episode, in exchange for his peace that surpasses all understanding, in exchange for that everlasting joy, in exchange for a God who will never forsake nor leave you, nor will he fail you. God cannot and will not lose. So ladies, when you're in this crushing season, embrace it. Let God be God. Cast all of your anxiety, your stress, your worries, everything onto God, and let him work within you. Let him meet you in the wilderness. It may feel lonely, it will, but I promise you're not alone. God is close to the brokenhearted. Take Job, for example. Job lost everything, yet he still worshiped and got back tenfold. This isn't the end. The crushing precedes the resurrection. Stay deeply rooted in his word even when you don't feel like it. God is your friend. He is waiting on you. Sometimes, depending on our decisions or other factors in life, we may have to go through the crushing season a few times. We just might, and that's okay, sis. But continue to trust God and remember only he can carry you through the suffering. I know it hurts, baby, but scripture tells us suffering produces perseverance, character, and hope. One day you'll look back and be thankful you didn't skip over this important, transformative season in your life. The oil comes from the crushing. The anointing, the power, the purpose are all refined under pressure. From a caterpillar to a beautiful butterfly, me, am a living witness to God's work. Your story is just the beginning. And I understand that this conversation, it can be heavy for a lot of us, honestly. So if there's any way that, I can pray for you, drop a comment. Or if this topic was impactful for you, feel free to share, like I said, subscribe, send me an email at softgirleraBooking@gmail.com. Again, that's softgirleraBooking@gmail.com. I'll make sure I have that in the link. I know that the crushing season, a lot of us, we want to skip that, That was me. I was always trying to skip that crushing season. I didn't want to have to feel that pain. I didn't want to have to feel that hurt. I didn't want to cry, Like I mentioned, I'm a strong, independent Black woman. I'm not about what I look like boohoo crying, But baby girl, it is so imperative that you allow God to be God and that you sit and that you bask in that crushing season. If you don't already have a prayer closet, I highly encourage you to create one. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, whatever. It can even be a little prayer corner, but go into that secret place when you are broken, when you already did all that you could. Say no to all the things of the world, all these things that you keep trying to use that are of the world that are no good for you. Because guess what? That was me. I was using all of these things. And yet I kept going back saying, hey, I felt that joy during that time, but by the end of the day, I'm still in my feelings. I'm still in my feels, to be honest. And I'll actually elaborate on that more on another episode, but I just really, 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 really wanted to emphasize this crushing season because so many of us, like I said, tried to skip over it, not even realizing it's really hard for us to get to that restoration, to that full-on going all out for Christ if we're not even allowing God to be God and use us in this crushing season, in our brokenness, okay? So that's just goes back to the wine illustration. You can't skip those steps or else you ain't got wine. You just got some grapes, What good is that? But anywho, ladies, I really hope that this was super, super impactful for you guys. Once again, drop a comment if you feel led to. Email me, softgirleraBooking@gmail.com. And that's it. Until next time, my loves. Thank you.